Ever since the reveal of the mysterious panel in Jigen's dimension, everyone's been wondering who could be the missing Otsutsuki. This led to many theories about it being Shibai, Urashiki, or even Lord Jashin. And while those theories are definitely plausible, I think we're missing the bigger picture. You see, the true identity of these Otsutsukis was hinted at in Boruto's anime, and it all ties into Boruto being the reincarnate of Kaguya's father, otherwise known as the Ox King. Now, this might sound crazy, I know, but hear me out and then you guys can tell me if it all makes sense. First thing we need to understand is that Sumi's character is very important to the overall plot of Boruto. This goes back to Nue and the Gozu Tenno seal, which are both linked to Kaguya and the Otsutsuki. The seal itself was created by Danzo and the Root organization when they tried to replicate Kaguya's hidden jutsu as stated by Sasuke. This would then give the one who possessed the Gozu Tenno seal the ability to summon Nue from what Sumi's father referred to as the underworld, or could just say a different dimension. Now the interesting thing about this is that despite not possessing the Gozu Tenno seal, Boruto was somehow able to summon Nue. This was shown in episode 4 when Boruto performed the summoning jutsu despite not having a summoning contract. And while this isn't necessary to summon an animal in the Naruto universe, he shouldn't be able to summon Nue. Now some would argue that Sumire was the one who summoned Nue then pretended as if it was Boruto, but that doesn't make sense since Sumire later confirmed in the novels that Boruto was the first one to summon Nue. And it also would make sense from a character motive perspective since Nue didn't have enough chakra to destroy the village at that point in time. So it's pretty clear that Boruto was able to summon Nue for some reason. The real question is how. Well, you see, this all goes back to what inspired the creation of the Gozu Tenno seal, and that somewhat lies in the name itself. That's because Gozu Tenno translates to Ox-Headed Heavenly King in Japanese. In fact, Gozu Tenno is also the name of a powerful Japanese deity that also goes by the name of Muto Tenjin. This is really important because in both episode 54, Sasuke found a statue of an Otsutsuki in Kaguya's dimension, which had horns similar to that of an ox. So, if Gozu Tenno refers to the Ox King, and there's a statue in Kaguya's dimension that depicts such an entity, what exactly does this mean? Well, for one, Kishimoto likes to take elements from different stories in folklore to then mix them together and form his own narrative conclusions, and in this case, it is no different. You see, there is also another entity within Japanese folklore that is closely associated with the oxes, or the oxen, if you guys want to be grammatically correct here, and his name is Hikoboshi, otherwise known as the Calm-Man. His story is tied to that of Orihime, the Weaving Princess, and daughter of Tente, otherwise known as the Sky King. In summary, their story is that of two lovers who later got separated by the Sky King because they didn't fulfill their duties, to the point where they were placed on opposite ends of the universe and only allowed to meet on one day of the year, which is just crazy. The interesting thing here is that Kaguya's story, that is Kaguya from Naruto, and that of Sumire's are both influenced by this folktale. This is shown in the fact that Kaguya was depicted as gazing at the galaxy in Shippuden episode 460, and Sumire was shown to be doing the same thing in both episode 34, which is of course a reference to Orihime doing a similar thing, waiting for the day she could meet her lover Hikoboshi. Now this does go a bit deeper than that because Hikoboshi is also the Japanese name of the Altair star, if that's how that's pronounced, but it's a star which is the brightest star in the constellation of Aquila. There's also the fact that Boruto's new Rasengan is called Rasengan Uzuhiko, which of course plays on the Hiko part of Hikoboshi. So if one were to operate under the premise that Boruto is the reincarnation of Kaguya's father and Kaguya's father is derived from the Calm-Man, Hikoboshi, and the Ox King, otherwise known as Gozu Tenno, which is why the Otsutsuki statue in Kaguya's dimension has the horn of an ox, wouldn't that explain why Boruto is called the Star of Hope? Because if he's the reincarnation of Hikoboshi, which is the name of a star in Japanese, or the Star Prince, doesn't that imply a connection to this entity? This will also explain why Boruto is able to summon Nue, because if you assume that the Ox King is Kaguya's father and that was actually his castle in Kaguya's dimension, it could also be the case that he created Nue. We have to remember that it was never stated that Kaguya created the beast itself, just that the Gozu Tenno seal was a replica of Kaguya's hidden jutsu, which was intended to summon Nue. Now, how did Danzo come across this information? Who knows? Maybe Kaguya used it to summon Nue in the past and someone documented the information, somehow. Now I do think that it plays into the fact that omnipotence was used to meddle with the memories of humans in the past as implied by Momoshiki. So maybe humans as a collective at one point knew more about the Otsutsukis than they know now. And maybe someone was immune to the effects similar to Sarada and Sumire, and they were the ones who documented the forgotten past. But of course, we'll have to wait and see. I'll save that for another video. The point is that Boruto, being the reincarnation of Kaguya's father, the person who created Nue, is the reason why he's able to also summon Nue. In fact, it would make perfect sense to some degree in the Naruto universe since summonings appear to be eternal because Madara was able to summon the Nine Tails after he was brought back as an Edo Tensei. The summoning only failed because the sea restricts the Nine Tails to Naruto's body, which implies that a contract or a connection isn't disrupted by death. So maybe this extends to reincarnates as well, as they're technically the same person with a distinctive personality. Now, just to be clear, I'm not making this up. There is precedence for this established in the Naruto universe. This is shown in the fact that Ashura and Inja, the sons of Hagoromo Otsutsuki, somehow found a way to defy conventional death and later reincarnated as Naruto and Sasuke. Now, of course, it didn't start with them. These guys have been reincarnating over and over again for the better part of a millennia. So, just as how they manifested as Hashirama and Madara prior to Naruto and Sasuke, there are many other lesser known reincarnates as well. They just weren't very significant to the plot itself. Now, the reason why that's important to note is because people believe that Ashura and Ninja just possess Naruto and Sasuke, which implies that they're separate entities. Yet if you go with the explanation provided by Hagoromo himself, that couldn't be furthest from the truth. You see, as stated in chapter 670, even after their flesh perished, the chakra the two possess continued to reincarnate across time without vanishing over and over again. He even goes as far as saying that Ashura has reincarnated as you, which means that Naruto is Ashura's current iteration, his next life. What this also confirms is that one's reincarnate can be different from oneself. I mean, the man himself outright states that Naruto's slightly dumb maverick nature is so unlike that of the previous reincarnates, even Ashura himself. And the reason why that's relevant to Boruto being Kaguya's father's reincarnate is because it can explain why Boruto's personality can be different from the Ox King while still being an incarnation of him. So the flesh itself or the personality of said flesh isn't what's relevant. The most important factor is the soul. With that said, the soul is also tied to chakra as stated by Hagoromo, which means that Boruto possesses the chakra of the Ox King. This then explains why he's able to summon Nue without a contract or the Gozu Tenno seal. It simply responded to the chakra of the Ox King. Now there is another Otsutsuki statue that was shown in Kaguya's lava dimension which looks like a female. This is most likely Kaguya's mother Orihime, the daughter of the Sky King, which is very interesting because that will make Kaguya the daughter of the Ox King, Hikoboshi, and Orihime, the two missing Otsutsukis on the Otsutsuki tablet. Now where this gets a bit crazier than it was before is the identity of the Sky King. You see, based on what I've gathered so far, it's said that the Jade Emperor, otherwise known as the Sky King, was an ordinary mortal that roamed the earth helping as many people as he could. But he was saddened because his powers could only just ease the suffering of humans. That's because back then the earth was a very difficult place to live, much harsher than it is now. People had to deal with a variety of monstrous beings, and they didn't have many gods to protect them. So because of this, he then retreated to a mountain cave to cultivate his Ta, which is pretty much life force energy. He then went on to complete some trials, each lasting about 3 million years. While at the same time, an evil entity had the ambition to conquer the immortals and gods in heaven and proclaim sovereignty over the entire universe. This evil entity also went on to complete the same trials that the Jade Emperor did, just coming short of around 200. He then felt confident that no one could defeat it, and that much was true at that point in time since the gods were unable to stop it and it defeated all of them. Now the Jade Emperor also finished his trials around this point in time as well, and while he was protecting the humans from the demons on the planet, he saw an evil glow radiating from heaven and knew something was amiss. So he ascended to heaven and saw that the evil entity was too powerful to be stopped by the gods. So he challenged it, they fought, mountains shook and rivers and seas toppled. Though due to his deeper and wiser cultivation and his benevolence instead of his might, the Jade Emperor won the battle, and after the evil entity was defeated, its army was scattered by the gods and the immortals. Now this screams Shibai Otsutsuki to me. So similar to the Sky King who underwent each of his trials for 3 million years in order to attain the power to ascend into godhood, Shibai did the same thing. As stated by Amado in chapter 75, Shibai underwent the process of karmic resurrection and devoured many chakra fruits over several millennia, which isn't quite the same as 8 million years of course, but you guys get the point. Amado also theorized that Shibai ascended to a higher plane of existence, which is likely the domain of the gods as the chapter itself is titled. And by the way, this was confirmed by Momoshiki himself when he said that Shibai is no longer in this dimension, but what he said about him is true. So it could be the case that Kaguya is not only the daughter of the Ox King, but also the granddaughter of the Sky King, otherwise known as Shibai, from her mother's side. Now Sumire also has more connections to these guys and the Otsutsukis as well, which is why I think she's important to the plot, such as her last name being Shigaraki, where the first kanji means death, the middle one means handle or pattern, and the last one being tree or wood. So the best interpretation of this would be handle of death or tree of death, which of course links back to the god tree, which devours all life on a planet. This is also somewhat similar to Nue, who also has the ability to absorb the chakra of anyone it touches. However, the fact that the Gozu Tenno seal depicts the body of Nue with a third eye, similar to the Ten Tails. So Nue's final form, if it actually got the chakra it needed, possibly possesses a third eye, maybe the Renin Sharingan or the Jogan, which will also explain why Boruto always activated it in the presence of Nue. Now, there's also the fact that the name Kake or Keke, which Sumi used to hide their true lineage, actually refers to a Japanese-style bamboo, which is very interesting since the story of Princess Kaguya Hime is actually called the Tale of the Bamboo Cutter. That's because Kaguya was discovered as a baby inside the stalk of a glowing bamboo plant after she was sent to Earth. This of course links back to Kaguya's backstory in Shippuden, where she was found in a bamboo forest after arriving on the planet. So given the crossover with the story of Princess Kaguya and the story of Princess Orihime and Hikoboshi, what if Kaguya's backstory is a combination of both? What if, and just listen here, what if Kaguya's father, Hikoboshi, was killed because of an order given by the Otsutsuki, which would explain why his kimono is folded right over left, which is only used for the dead, while the female statue is folded left over right, which implies that she's still alive, at least at the time that statue was erected. So similar to the story of Hikoboshi, the Sky King separated the two lovers, and maybe in this iteration of the story he captured Orihime and killed Hikoboshi for whatever reason. Maybe that's why Kaguya revolted against the clan, betrayed Ishiki and took the chakra fruit for herself, then proceeded to form an entire army to defend against who the clan would send to capture her. The most likely case is that this didn't happen immediately, but most of the Kaguya planned to defect from the clan when she later found out what actually happened to her parents, maybe years or centuries later. Now, I could be wrong, but we'll see. With that said guys, that's it for the video. Let me know your thoughts down below, and also, you can ignore that last section where I kind of just theorized and put the story together. All of that could be wrong, but let me know your thoughts on the first section where it kind of just draws like some parallels between the story of Orihime and Hikoboshi and, you know, Boruto and Uzuhiko and all that stuff. It also goes to Tenno, the Ox God, and the Gozu Tenno seal, and also the missing Otsutsukis. And then you also have the statues in Kaguya's dimension that have horns similar to that of oxes. So I feel like they're trying to tell us something here, and I could be wrong. Maybe this was initially planned because this was a while ago in the anime when all of this stuff was revealed, and Kodachi isn't writing the manga or supervising the anime anymore. So maybe this was planned before, but they kind of scrapped it and went with Ikimoto's plan. You know, we'll see. But it is an interesting idea. With that said again guys, that's it for the video. Let me know your thoughts down below. Drop a like if you liked it and subscribe if you're new. And I'll see you guys on the next one. Peace.